Hey guys, welcome back to the show. Let's dive into the story of Anneliese Michel, a tale that blends the lines between faith, medicine, and of course the supernatural. So this story comes from the small town of Klingenberg in Germany during the 1970s. It's really chilling as it is tragic, but take a listen. So Anneliese Michel was born in 1952 into a devoutly Catholic family. And from a young age, she was deeply religious, but things started to take a dark turn in 1968 when Anneliese, then just 16 years old, experienced her first episode of what many would later believe was possession. But doctors initially diagnosed as epilepsy because she had convulsions, and she was soon diagnosed with grand mal epilepsy after being admitted to a psychiatric hospital. But as the years passed, Annelise's condition, it didn't just fail to improve, it got markedly worse. She started experiencing hallucinations while praying, hearing voices telling her that she was damned and she would rot in hell. These experiences weren't just spooky, they were downright terrifying for her. I mean, can you imagine that? Very strange. By 1973, Annelise's visions had become more intense, more disturbing. They were really desperate for a solution. Her family turned to the church. This was the point where medicine took a backseat and religious belief really took the wheel. So after a couple of priests evaluated her, they concluded that Anneliese didn't just have epilepsy. She was possessed by demons. So here's where it all really ramps up. From 1975, over the course of 10 months, Anneliese underwent 67 exorcisms. So imagine that for a moment. Early, a week after week, with rituals that involved prayers, pleadings, and confrontations with, what they believed were demons living inside of her. So the sessions were obviously intense. They'd last for hours, with Anneliese often restrained, and they took a massive toll on her body. I mean, she wasn't eating, she wasn't really drinking, she was just going through these experiences. So during the exorcism, she had these really weird behaviors. She'd scream, she'd thrash, and she'd speak in what was perceived as demonic voices, a language that no one could understand. According to the accounts, she even spoke languages she'd never learned. So throughout all of this, Anneliese barely ate. She became extremely emaciated. And in June of 1976, Anneliese was so frail and so weak, the young woman once full of life, she'd been reduced to a shadow of really her former self. She ended up weighing 68 pounds. And on July 1st, 1976, Anneliese Michel passed away. The official cause was malnutrition and dehydration. The sad reality here is that amid all the focus on exorcism, her physical health was neglected. The aftermath of her death was a huge whirlwind. Annelise's parents and the two priests who conducted the exorcisms, they were charged with negligent homicide. The court case was a really big deal, capturing the attention of the entire nation and a lot of the world. It brought up tons of heated debates on the practice of exorcisms, the responsibilities of the church, and then the intersection of religious belief and medical care. The trial was intense. It went on for quite some time with experts from both the medical and religious fields, both weighing in. Ultimately, the court concluded that Anneliese was not possessed, but was suffering from psychological effects of severe epilepsy and the possibility of schizophrenia. Her parents and the priests were actually found guilty of negligent homicide, and they were sentenced to, yeah, you guessed it, only 6 months in jail. 6 months, which was later suspended, and they ended up getting 3 years probation. Whoop-de-doo. So the case leaves us with a lot of questions. Was Anneliese Michel truly possessed, or was she a victim? of untreated mental illness. How much does belief really influence our decisions? And where do we draw the line when it comes to health and safety of a loved one? Anyway, guys, very bizarre story. I'd like to hear your comments. Was she possessed? Was it mental health? What really happened here? Really sad story. Anyway, thanks for taking the time, and thanks for joining me on another episode of Whispers of Men. And remember to like and subscribe. Thanks, guys.